So I have this controller in my hand. I've got my bow mount down. I've pulled up my live sonar and I've got it in forward facing, of course, and we're just churning and burning water. It's an endless basin, so the quickest way that I can eliminate water is get on the big motor, drop down my trolling motor, and I hit my M, and I can waft to the front of my trolling motor on the tip of the boat as I idle around and essentially just cover water like I would almost farming a field. And it's amazing where these fish end up being from day to day, and you just never can really ever predict where they're gonna be. But this is a good way to churn and burn water. And it's a little safer to do it from here. Yeah, you can stand on the front and do it as well, but you know, for a one-man band like I'm doing today, this is the safest. Yeah, I could run up on the front, put the motor in gear and look around, but in this cold water, you really don't want to fall in. Put the lanyard on, clip that on, you're good to go. If you fall in, the boat shuts down. I think we might just backtrack where we had last seen some of these fish. I didn't drop any dots, but I can check my trail. It's fall. Basin is the name of the game, and even basin fish can be affected by wind. We've had a number of days with a prevailing south wind, so I headed to the north side of the lake, and lo and behold, there's a few fish around here. So keep that in mind when you're thinking fall and basin fish. Even though they're tucked down in the basin, they might be on the north, south, east, west side of the basin roaming around, and that wind can really influence their positioning from day to day. With a south wind, I'm gonna get on the south side of these fish and 180 myself right with my nose into the wind and position on them. I like to stay, you know, give or take 40 to 50 feet away from a school. So that's kind of the goal, is just to keep them at arm's length. You know, you got to be a little sneaky about it. Otherwise, if they want to get away from you, they 100% will get away from you. That one saw it. Whew. That one got it. They're being feisty as far as on the move. I was fishing a little bit bigger bait earlier, but caught a number of them. But they do tend to get a little sensitive to what size bait you're throwing. And I downsized to a little tiny Z-Man. It's like a little minnow. Look at the size of that crappie though. They have a hard time saying no to something that size. We'll go back, get him back. There's a number of other fish where that one came from. But today's day and age, you can only get away with so much for so long before fish really start to key in on, like, okay, they're on to you, right? They know what's going on. You catch a few bass on a jerk bait or a swim bait or something, and you really have to change things up or go small. And that's what I'm doing today. Let's see my bait falling right there, right into the school of them. And before you know it, one of them's, yeah, they're already coming up on it. He's got it. Now the trick is to land the fish, but not lose track of my school. So I'm gonna anchor lock here and just hope that they kind of stay put. I don't want to tear the mouth on them too bad. See, look at that. Just that little bit of even pulling on them just tore his mouth enough. They're such fine skinned. Their mouths are just so paper thin that you just really don't want to tear a big hole in their mouth. Hence the long shank of fluorocarbon on here, and then a very, very parabolic rod on top of it. I've always preached, I guess you'd say, just the parabolic rod when it comes to crappie fishing to an extent. Now you don't need like a noodle or anything, but something that's got some give to it, that's kind of a moderate action. I don't really want a fast action rod. So this is actually a Bait Finesse System, which is an interesting take on crappie fishing, and it's kind of a newer trend that's been going on with the bass fishing, and it's just kind of transferred into some of the panfish stuff as well. They've got a pretty good little system here, and for being a small little swim bait, that tail actually kicks at a very, very slow speed, which was really cool. A lot of swim baits that are small, on the small end, like this small, this is just tiny, like a 1-inch swim bait, 1.5. A lot of times those tails just don't kick, but Z-Man made it, you know, it's very thin appendage, it's segmented in here, so it will kick, as you can see on the underwaters. There he is. The fall. If you're an outdoorsman, it is probably your favorite time of the year. Just like it is mine. Oh, that one had a run-in with a pike. Let me get this out. Get it out of this. That one got him good. That one double pinned him. Size is such a big deal. I was throwing like a 4-inch bait on them earlier. You can only do that so often, like I mentioned, but this one, they're having a hard time saying no to this. Every time you get it around the school, one of them comes up and gets it. So size of the bait, I mean, that can make or break your day. Just that little fact right there. Whether you downsize your jerk bait or you downsize your little swim bait, whatever it might be, always play with size. So this is 832. We've got a 8-pound braid to a 6-pound fluoro shank of leader, which is, I don't know, I suppose I tied on about 4 to 6 feet. If I needed to retie a little bit, I kind of like to favor a longer leader. But then, like I said, the parabolic rod is like really an important thing, especially when I'm pairing this with the braid. You do want that slow action rod. Now, if I were to, say, choose like a fluorocarbon or something like that, then I get away with a little bit faster action rod. But I want that limber rod with the braid. And then this is a 7-to-1 gear ratio. And the thing about the BFS stuff is one of the biggest things that I've seen is just the shallow spool and the line capacity of it. You don't need a whole lot of line to fill up these spools. They're a shallow spool for a reason, which it's because you can cast these baits such as this so much farther with the design of that shallower spool. You really don't want to whip cast these small baits. Think of it as like almost as if you're throwing like a bigger base. But like I'm bucking right into the wind right here, and I kind of want to come back and everything is nice, slow, and gradual. Kind of like you would throw a big swim bait or something of that nature. It just seems to work a little bit better than trying to like whip cast. And overall, the system is very light. Just in general, the rod, reel, the bait, everything is just, it's what it's designed to be. It's just lightweight. So I can swim that little tiny swim bait over the top of, over the tops of schools of crappies. And when they bite it, it just, I mean, it knocks the fire right out of this thing. My hands just, it's kind of interesting. I haven't done it a ton, but it's quite a shocking bite, the whole system. So if you've never tried it, it's certainly something to look into. If you kind of are intrigued by sort of niche things like the smaller baits and the light action, light line. Me personally, I kind of like to try and catch a fish with the lightest line I possibly can. it's a little more challenging to me, and I just enjoy that aspect of it. So if you've never tried the BFS systems, it's worth a look because it's something different and it's a lot of fun.